Hello friend, now I am going to discuss about the topic water pollution. Myself Dr. Devendra Vagare, I am acting as an assistant professor at Vivekanand College, Aurangabad. What is water pollution? So, what is water pollution? Water pollution is nothing but the quality of the water or physical and chemical nature of the water become changes. It is called as water pollution. Water pollution can be defined as the alteration in the physical, chemical or biological characteristic of the water, so that it either become health hazard or unfit for use. So water pollution is nothing but some of the foreign particles are comes in the water and the quality of the water become changes and it becomes hazardous to health as well as it is unfit for the use. Okay, so what are the major types of pollutants and sources and its effects? So water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, usually as a result of human activities. Water bodies include, for example, lakes, rivers, ocean, aquifers, groundwater like wells, tube wells. Okay. So water pollution results when contaminants are introduced into the natural environment. So some of the contaminants which are introduced into the water bodies like lake, ocean, as well as in the well, it decreases the quality of the water and the contamination of that of the substance which can contaminate into the water. It is called as pollutants. So there are different types of pollutants in the water. Mostly some of the pollutants are point and some are non-point sources. Okay, so one of the question arises, when is the river water safe to drink? According to one of the survey, it has been recorded that the water of the Yamuna river is not used for even bath. So the quality of the water become decreasing day by day by industrial waste or some of the sewage directly enters into the water and the quality water of the water become very poor. It cannot be directly used for drinking purpose or some of the domestic use. So there are some of the major categories of water pollutants. First is infectious agents. Some of the pollutants are infectious agents such as bacteria, viruses, some of the protozoans parasitic worms, some of the nematodes, and some are the wastage from the human and animal sources. Some of the pollutants are oxygen demanding waste, such as organic debris, waste, and aerobic bacteria and anaerobic bacteria. Sources: some of the sewages, feedlots, paper mills, and food processing factories also introduce this type of oxygen demanding waste. Some of the inorganic chemicals such as acids, mineral acids, some metals and its salts. Okay, some of the surface runoff which directly enters into the water bodies and it becomes polluted. Some of the radioactive materials from the such as iodine, radon, uranium, cesium, thorium. These are the actually released from coal and nuclear power stations, meaning and weapons production and natural from the hills, surface runoff. Okay, so similarly the some of the plant nutrients also act as pollutants in water. Some of the fertilizers which contain nitrates, phosphates, these are the main sources of that nitrates and phosphates which occur from the agriculture and landscaping runoff. Okay, some of the organic chemicals such as oil, gasoline, plastic, pesticides, solvents, some of the volatile organic solvents, some of organic pollutants and detergents are the main sources from industrial effluents, household cleansers, and runoff from farms and ads. most of the time we are using the shampoo like Head and Shoulder and some. This contains some of the selenium as a metal, and it directly enters into the water bodies, and it directly affect the some of the bacterial direct nitrogen fixing bacteria which are actually observed in the plants, which are called as the tuber containing plants. Okay, so these are some of the pollutants mostly occur in nature. Some of the eroded sediments and heat and thermal station. These are all the major categories of water pollutants. Mostly decrease the original quality of the water and it become more polluted. So these are, we have discussed about the major categories of water pollutants. Next is this picture show that the pollution in the stream, that is in the sea or some water. These are the different zone in the water level, which normal clean water organism, some trash fishes, some fish, some of the parts of the ocean there is no fish. Actually there are different type of bacteria and worms are occur, and these are the main types of organism, and their demand for oxygen actually is biological oxygen demands. So there are different types of effluents, mostly mostly act as a waters waste which are discharged in our water bodies, some of the from the public sewerages. In this domestic, first is the domestic effluents. So in this case, the wastewater are discharged in a water public sewerages, such as human and animal excreta, organic matter in the form of food residue, detergents, some of the large number of bacteria like fecal coliform, salmonella, etc. Most laundry detergents contains phosphorus. Beautiful Dal Lake has been polluted due to the dumping of raw sewages and domestic effluent from houseboats and nearby localities. As well as the biological oxygen demand, that is the amount of oxygen needed by bacteria in decomposing the organic waste present in the water. Means the dissolved oxygen which is required for the bacteria to decompose the organic waste present in the our water bodies. So it is called as biological oxygen demand. Biological oxygen demand increase means water is polluted. If the biological oxygen demand is decreased, the water is very good. The quality of water is very good. So biological oxygen demand is the one of the parameter is directly proportional to input of water organic waste. If the organic wastage is increased in the water, there is a more demand for biological oxygen demand. Okay. So on the basis of this biological oxygen demand, we can say that the water is polluted or not. Okay. Next is industrial effluents. What are the industrial effluents? Industries usually discharge wastewater into ponds, lakes, rivers, and rivers directly goes to the meets to the sea. So some of the industrial wastewater contains heavy metals like mercury, lead, arsenic, copper, cadmium. These are the most dangerous, like as a mercury, lead. These are the most dangerous metals which are mostly released in water. Some of the inorganic pollutants such as mineral acids, alkalis, and bleaching powders and liquids. Okay, so these are directly comes into the water and decrease the quality of the water. Organic pollutants such as proteins, cellulose, fibers, and some other organic matters is directly comes into the water and decrease the quality of the water. These are the industrial effluents. Next is the surface runoff. These are the most important point which can be directly affect the quality of the water, that is the surface runoff from field of inorganic fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, manures being heavy load of pollutants into natural water bodies. This can occur when the soil is saturated to full capacity and rain arrives more quickly than soil can absorb it. Some of the fertilizers include nitrate, phosphate, sulfate of potassium. They may reach the ground through leaching or may be carried to river, lakes and ponds. So these are the most hazardous effect of surface runoff is the Eutrophication. Eutrophication means hypertrophication. Is when a body of water becomes overly enriched with minerals and nutrients, nitrate from fertilizer, which induce excessive growth of algae. And due to the excessive growth of algae, the process may result in the oxygen depletion of water body. That is the number of organic matter increases, the biological oxygen demand also increases. We have already seen it. And second concept is that biomagnification. Biomagnification refers to the condition where the chemical concentration in an organism exceeds the concentration of its food when the major exposure routes occur from the organism's diet. That is also called as biomagnification. Water becomes unfit for drinking, industrial and recreational purpose. So surface runoff is also one of the cause to decrease the quality of water, means the water become polluted. Next one is that the thermal water pollution. It is arises when the temperature of the water rise the temperature of the water. Thermal power plants, refineries, etc. etc. discharge hot water into nearby lakes, rivers, sea, etc. For example, nuclear power plants withdraw cool water from water bodies and discharge hot water into it. So this is the main cause which increase the temperature of the water. Okay, so these are the four types of effluent we have already seen. Then we are going to discuss about the sources of pollution. There are two types of general sources which are mainly polluted the water. First is the point sources and second is the non-point sources. What are the point sources? It can be called as the contaminants that enter waterway from a single or identified, means the sources of pollutions which can be identified, it is called as point sources. And the source which cannot be identified, it is called as non-point source. So point sources, for example, sources in this category include discharge from a sewage treatment plant, a factory or industry, or from a city storm drain. Non-point source pollution, which as the example is the leaching out of nitrogen compound from fertilized agriculture land, nutrient runoff in stream of water, should flow over an agricultural field or forest, pet waste also cited as example of non-point water sources. These are the two types of sources. First is point sources and second is non-point sources, generally decrease the quality of water. Next is the effect on human being. What is the effect of water pollution on human being? The first is that the disease causing microorganisms like viruses, bacteria, parasitic protozoa are also known as pathogens, and these pathogens are spreading disease directly among humans. Some of the water causing diseases, it is mostly born like diarrhea, jaundice, cholera, typhoid and amoebiasis, etc. These are the main diseases which are mostly caused by the water pollution. Second is the mercury compounds. Mercury compound or mercury metals in wastewater are converted by bacterial action into extremely toxic compound that is called as methyl mercury, which can cause numbness of limbs, lips, tongue, deafness, blurring of vision and mental problems. The most general disease that is called as Minamata disease in 1953, it is observed in 1953, is a poisoning disease that affect mainly the central nervous system of human being. So that is called as the Minamata disease, which is caused by mercury metal, and which is when it is occur in water, it polluted the water, and if that water become consumed by the animals or human being, the animal become, it may be. Next is Minamata disease. Then water contaminated with cadmium causes Ethai disease. Cadmium metal is cause of Ethai. This is a painful disease of bones and joints, and cancer of lungs and liver also caused by cadmium metals when it is contaminated the water. Excess of nitrate in drinking water dangerous to human health, which react with hemoglobin of the blood and forms methane methemoglobin and impairs oxygen transport. This condition is called methemoglobinemia or blue baby syndrome. That is the most common disease, mostly occur when the excess of nitrates comes in drinking water. It is very dangerous to human health. Okay, so these are some of the effects on human being which is caused by organic pollutants or some of the pathogens occur in water bodies. Next is the how will you control, what are the control measures of water pollution. First is hot water should be cooled before release from the power plant. Mostly thermal power plant increase or rise the temperature of the water, means hot water should be cooled before entering into the river or lakes, and it may decrease the temperature of water. So second is the cleaning in tanks, streams, rivers which supply drinking water should be prohibited. Next is judicious use of agrochemicals like pesticides which will reduce their runoff and leaching. Domestic excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides should be avoided. Organic farming and efficient use of animal residue as fertilizer are the main. It is the most, now the organic farming is the most suitable, one of the suitable measures to decrease the water pollution is one of the organic farming. Use of nitrogen fixing plant to supplement the use of fertilizer. Planting trees would reduce pollution by sedimentation and will also prevent soil erosion, automatically decrease the surface runoff. Okay. Next, for the control of industrial waste and toxic compounds should be purified before draining into the river, lakes and seas. Wastewater should be properly treated by primary and secondary treatment. So these are the control measures of water pollution. Next, this is the flooding of after deforestation of hillside. Most of the due to deforestation, the flooding occur in rainy season due to excessive deforestation. This picture say that there is a flooding in at hillside. Next one is, this is the groundwater pollution. Actually there are two types of pollution. One is surface water pollution and second one is groundwater pollution. Surface water pollution means the pollutant or contamination occur in lakes, rivers, sea and some of the oil directly contaminated the seawater. But groundwater pollution also there, and these are the some of the this picture show the groundwater pollution. Actually this is the groundwater flow, and there are some of the discharge of pesticides, fertilizer directly into the groundwater stream, and it automatically decrease the quality of water. This picture show the groundwater pollution. Then extent of groundwater pollution. Not much is known about groundwater pollution. Organic contaminants including fuel leaks, arsenic, and protecting groundwater prevention is the best. Next is the solution, preventing and cleaning up pollution in groundwater. First is prevention and second is cleanup. Find substitute for toxic chemicals. Keep toxic chemicals out of the environment. Install monitoring wells near landfills and underground tanks. Require leak detectors on underground tanks. Ban hazardous waste disposal in landfills and injection wells. And lastly, these are the coastal and this is the capsicum say. Effect of oil on ocean water. Coral reefs die. These are the preventing and cleaning measures and preventing non-point source pollution. Decrease the agricultural waste. Use vegetation to reduce soil erosion. Reduce fertilizer use. Use plant buffer zones around fields and only pesticides. Laws for reducing point sources pollution. That is that there should be a law. That is the Use Clean Water Act, and second is Water Quality Act. Next one is sewage treatment system. Sewage treatment in rural and suburban areas, septic tanks and primary sewage treatment. Secondary sewage treatment, urban sewage treatment, that is should be covered under Clean Water Act. Then bleaching and disinfection, disinfectant, chlorine use can be used. Improving sewage treatment. There should be a hazardous, there should be substitute for non-hazardous chemical. These are the solution. This is Thank you. Thank you very much.